All right, hello and welcome. Thank you so much. What you're about to watch is a very fun for me, and I hope for you as well, mini course that I've put together based on the Change the Game challenge. And what you're watching is you incorporated. Now it's going to be. This time I'm going to try something a little different, right? Because the Change the Game challenge is a grand project, and it always comes down to the very beginning, which is you. Now, for years, I've been working on stuff that has been very fun for me. And one of the things that I've always noticed, it's people, process, then product. So the idea behind this course is you. You are the product. We're going to navigate some of the same exercises that I would do if you were, say, an enterprise executive client. So, excuse me, let's start with why. And this is something that you're going to notice across the board with pretty much anything we talk about. So, first things first, if you are on Instagram, you are familiar with motivation. We see it everywhere, right? We see, an inspiring quote, and frankly, I love them. I mean, I share a lot of them, but here's the thing, at the end of the day, what do we do after that little spout of motivation? I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the concept of saturation. And the thing is that with saturation, it always just comes down to, okay, I'm bombarded with this, right? There's so much of it. What do I do next? So I'm a guinea pig, and a lot of what I share with you here is literally me being the guinea pig, testing something out, running it to the wheels fall off, right? And in terms of my why and why I put this together for you is because a lot of the people that I've been talking to have a lot of the same pain points that I've had, you know? And I love focusing on people who want to figure out how stuff works, right? Remix it afterwards. I'm pretty sure, speaking of quotes, you've heard the quote, learn the rules so you can break them like an artist. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover your inner artist, basically leverage said inner artist. So a little bit about where I'm coming from was this is, this is actually what you're looking at is an article that was written not too long ago, and it was really cool. I was featured in it, and specifically why I was featured in it was, I'm over here making magic for companies and just getting amazing results. And frankly, for someone my age in New York City, I am considered successful. But I'm only seeing my kid, my son. I'm only seeing him like maybe an hour or two a week, and that was devastating for me. And this is also where I'm coming from and putting this together for you. Is that I keep talking to people that they'll say things like, "I don't have the time." I'm busy. And I hate that word. I hate that phrase. Now I do. Back in the day, I was proud of it. I'd wear it like a badge of honor because in New York, I mean, if you're busy, you're grinding, and if you're grinding, you're the man. You're successful. And frankly, it's just not. It's not that way anymore. So in terms of who you're listening to, right? I'm Catriel C. Sarfati. I'm also known as Nerd Gone Rogue. And I legitimately am a guinea pig. I am a scientist at heart, an artist by trade, and it's been a lot of fun. And where I'm coming from in putting together this material for you is that my background is in neuromarketing and behavioral psychology, right? And that I've translated that into the business world, which is funny because a lot of the people that I went to school with, psych majors, whatever, they're thinking, I'm going to be a counselor. I'm going to be a therapist. I'm not cut out for that. I suck at it. And I recognize I suck at it. What I do love though is I'm a why guy, and that's something that I've borrowed from Tony Robbins, and several of my friends actually repeat that phrase too, because I love the David versus Goliath story, and if you're not familiar with it, it's the underdog, just taking something, leveraging themselves, and just really getting themselves to a better position. So again, I'm sharing this with you because I really tire of this hoopla and like just really romanticized things that we're seeing on social media that they do get us hyped. They do. But let's face it, okay, what next? Okay? And I'm about the brass tacks. If you've ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction, there's a guy in there that he tells him, "Call me Mr. Wolf." Well, I'm Mr. Wolf. I love the grand scheming. I do, but I am more about the brass tacks. Why? Well, because I grew up hella poor. Okay, I'm talking malnourishment. My mom and I, we were homeless. We lived in a van when I was from the age of 9 to 10. So from at least from my perspective, right? We're coming from zero, okay? And sure, a lot of bad came from it, but a lot of good came from it, and that also definitely pushed me in sharing with people like you because I also, between all these experiences, got really enamored with, okay, why did that happen? What happened from that? Why were strangers being so nice to us? Because, I mean, I don't know now, but I see it all the time on Instagram or Facebook or social media where people are like, don't trust anybody, whatever. I've had a different experience. I've met amazing people. I frequent California, for example, very fickle city, yes, but I've met some amazing people. And just to give you an example of where my curiosity stems from, my grandfather, right? Stand up guy. I'm talking, this guy had lines of credit in multiple businesses in New York City on a handshake. And then I would have my biological father, who was a pathological liar. So things like that. And even when putting together this course, this material for you, it all comes down to let's break down why that happened. So I am inviting you, said, you know what, I'm challenging you to really explore your critical thinking skills and really have fun with this because your income is directly related to the amount of problems you're going to be solving. All right. So a little bit of how this came about, as I said, my why, right? Well, the thing is that as I'm working along the years, before I started doing this online this way, I was doing it in a form of management consulting. So I would walk into, say, a UBS, a Deloitte, etc. And if you're not familiar with those companies, they're management companies. So we work with things like Morgan Stanley, et cetera, et cetera. Anywho, as I'm talking to these executives, right? And you think these people are powerful, they're successful, they're showing up in Aston Martins, but this is what as I'm getting to know them, like I originally would walk in to solve a problem. And before I knew it, I'd meet like a handful that were really cool. We'd hit it off. And despite having achieved financial success, this is what they're talking to me. 51% weren't sure if they were great at strategy and leadership. Ironic, given the fact that they're executives, founders, CEOs. 73% reported feeling lost after making big money. So it's like, okay, cool. And by the way, I have experienced that. I was fortunate enough to make a really sizable amount of money at a very young age. And then I had that moment of like, okay, now what? Again, because that was what was put in front of me, that was considered a goal, a status to achieve. So I'm also mentioning this to you because if you've never actually tasted that financial success, I have plenty of people that I can line up and tell you, if you don't actually have a why handy, anyone can legitimately or illegitimately, times are where they are. But if when you have it in front of you, there is this really weird feeling. Imagine like you just love, 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 like I don't know, like a steak, or if you're a vegan, if you're watching this, whatever, you get the idea, right? And you finally have it, and you're wiping your mouth after this delicious meal, but you still feel hungry. You're like, whoa, where the hell did it all go? And that also leads to that feeling of being stuck. And it's funny, I don't mean funny as in haha, I mean funny as in interesting, because you'll have people who are not successful and people who are successful, and they both have that feeling of stuck. And 67% of the people that I polled on this reported that because at the end of the day, it's like I said, that delicious, scrumptious last meal. And you're just like, where the hell did it go? Why am I still starving? And this also leads to feelings of low self-esteem. So 55% of them expressed having trouble getting the respect that they felt it deserved. Imagine if you are making killer money and you're keeping your family fed, clothed, roof over the head, etc., but you just can't get the respect. That just I could see that really just it's not only embarrassing, but it makes you feel low. So this is something that really then pushes people to the edge where a whopping 91% struggled with work-life balance. And it's very interesting because how people, right, view work-life balance is very interesting to me. And you'll start to see a little bit of my psychology background in why that is. Because it's not what you're thinking. And a lot of this course is going to be of us unlearning the bullshit. Okay? So as I said to you, what are we looking at? The average person in business is going to overspend a lot of time and money on vanity, right? I put vanity metrics because it's twofold. So what does that look like? That looks like, okay, I make X amount of dollars per year. I'm going to now keep up with the Joneses and look a certain way. I'm going to dress a certain way. I'm going to drive a certain car. I'm going to live in a certain thing. Cool. Those are all possessions, right? The thing about most possessions really is they're just a kind of like a Band-Aid. Businesses do this all the time too. I cannot tell you the amount of times that, and probably you're thinking this too, is, tell me, by the way, tell me if this sounds like you. I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to level up my career, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to get to this level, and I'm going to get to that level. Okay? Now, nothing wrong with wanting to grow. The thing is that, what are you growing? I had a company ready to drop $500,000 on their marketing and their growth or whatever. And it was really interesting to me, at least, because one, they were taking investor dollars, but two, their whole time, the whole meeting that we had was centered about get me more followers. Okay, what is that for? I said. And the guy looks at me, he's like, oh, so I want everyone to know this name. Okay, why? And of course, they're looking at me like I'm a fucking idiot. They're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean, why? Because we got to make money. And the thing is that, I mean, I don't know if you caught up with this, but not too long ago, there was an influencer that had, I think, like 3 million followers, but could barely sell 3 t-shirts. Matter of fact, let's go and check it out right now. Influencer. There you go. Couldn't sell shirts. An Instagram star with 2 million followers couldn't sell 36 t-shirts, and a marketing expose or case isn't rare. You see my point? So that's what I'm trying to say. That's, by the way, that's a little bit of what vanity metrics looks like. And of course, their why. As I said, why? Why do you want to do this? Right? That influencer could only sell 36 t-shirts because, frankly, when I did look at the page, by the way, her page was put together in a certain way where that was not the viable product, option, solution, nothing. It was just, it's like if you are a financial advisor and tomorrow you're going to try to sell me on being a fitness expert. I'm going to look at you like, sure, I guess, maybe. Like, it's just a huge gamble. And then, of course, as I mentioned to you, the fundamentals of learning new things constantly. And I'm very excited to get into that part later because, as I said to you, the people that I love helping and working with and focusing on are legitimately those people that are looking to learn the rules so they can break them like an artist. And, of course, following trends, not making them. It's very, it's just so detrimental. And moving on, right? These are some of the things we're going to be touching on as well. And you know what I love about this, by the way, is as you're watching this, even if you have that, again, it's human nature to have pride and protection. It's why people will have defense mechanisms, etc. A lot of stuff that we're going over, this is why I love putting together this way, because when I'm doing it live in an audience, people will climb up. They'll get defensive. But as you're watching this in home, this is why I was so excited to put this together for you, is because you don't actually have to admit to anything in public. So you can work at your own pace, right? You can have your own inner process. So, anywho, the struggle also comes from not accepting their weaknesses and not heightening their strengths. It's very funny how human behavior works because, we will really talk up and I've had people say, they'll talk up their strengths. And then when we dig a little deeper, we find out that's not really their strengths, it's just something they're really excited about. I've had, I mentioned UBS before, I had a training at UBS, and I had 2 sales, well, it's a woman and a guy, but salespeople, and they were, oh, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. And as we're talking, we find out, holy shit, you suck at sales. You just have the gift of gab. You should probably move over to customer service. Anywho, that's an example of what I mean by that. And lack of motivation, and I love touching on this one because, again, the reason I also shifted what I was doing is because motivation is easy to come by. Content and quotes and people yelling, do it. And I was like, look, I get it. It gets you pumped up. I will highly encourage anyone to get themselves a dose of that. However, what do you do afterwards? So that also brings the next part, which is being busy and not productive. This will also come along the lines of people that will get a taste of that motivation, right? And then they'll keep charging forward. They'll give themselves like templates and my to-do list, but what happens afterwards? Then they won't really measure the things that are going to help them. So in the next video, right, we're going to be jumping into why. So I'll see you in the next video, and I really, really, really commend and congratulate you for taking the time out to invest in your future. See you in the next video.